Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Potter, and I am the director of the Million Kisses Foundation. And I have a special interview that I want to do today. It's with my friend, Shaun Knapp. I asked him this week if I could interview him because I just was part of his journey online as he traveled through Croatia and Italy. And I have been part of his journey that went way beyond this moment while he was only there for that. Was it a month that you were there? About a month?
5 weeks this last trip.
5 weeks. So this
Uh,
journey began way beyond the 5 weeks. And I have two purposes of wanting to do this interview with him publicly. The first is just for Shaun, to document this incredible thing that he just did. And the second is I want to take this moment to document, just in case this might inspire anyone who is interested and ready to take their dreams to the next level, someone who might be afraid to internationally travel or go for that big dream. And Shaun has a really fantastic story, and he's going to tell us some of that. So I am really excited to introduce the world to Shaun Knapp. Hello, Shaun.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Okay, I want to let people know first. So I want them to know how we met. Just a sentence or two in your own words. How in the world do we know each other?
I had a friend that reached out. We were just we knew each other from Facebook. She really insisted I come to Salt Lake. We were at Whole Foods. Then she goes, "Oh, Emily's got a meeting at 7 o'clock. It was 10 to 7. Oh, we're right here where she's just close." So we went to Emily's house and you had a meeting, and I remember sitting there listening to you and your roommate talking about some crazy off the wall stuff. And it was interesting. Then we had the meeting, and afterward, and I don't know how much, part of this whole thing with meeting you will tie into some mystical fun, and I don't know how much time to.
That's okay. We met because I was teaching an angel class. So we'll just say that part. I know that you're probably not wanting to say all of that, but basically in this energetic opening possibilities, opening beyond the veil, invisible world coming together and being useful in the third dimension. And my experience of you at the time was intrigued and curiosity. And would you say it's fair to say that you were even skeptical?
When I heard you and you were looking into the corner as if though you were speaking to angels, spirit guides. You were saying, yeah, no, I'll tell them. And you're having this dialogue with unseen people. I was looking at you with very careful eyes, and I was open to think, well, who am I to say it's not legit? But my spirit of discernment said, I might not buy what Emily's saying, but the discernment was she believes what she's saying, and she's not fraudulent, and she's not trying to deceive. So then it left with me some very fascinating things to start to consider. And then as time passed, some things started to open up, and I started to take it way more serious and to believe, and then have evidences to believe. And the more I got playful and childlike, the more things started to open.
And that's important for any listener to hear our background and our history. That this was our foundational space of our friendship. Is, hey, we immediately from right off the bat are talking about things way beyond substantial evidence. We're ready to play bigger games together. That's how we met. That's important because of the next place I want to take us, in your story, in our story. So if we fast forward, there was one day that I called you and I said something really important to you that kind of freaked you out. So that was good feedback for me on my presentation. But tell the audience here what that phone call was, because that's really relevant about this journey that you just went on.
That was your big phone call that I got from New York?
Yep.
You New York?
Yep.
Okay. I got a voicemail and I listened to it. It was probably 3 to 4 minutes long. And it was Emily, and she said, Shaun, you've been on my mind the last couple of days, and I woke up this morning and boom, like it was time. This is a message coming to you. And through all this, I've inquired a lot from you, wanting to hear about the angels and what are they saying, different things. So there's been that aspect. And they've sometimes gone to you and said, hey, will you tell him this? Because, we need to get that message to him. One, in fact, was when I sent you a YouTube video. You listened to it, and then my angels were like, okay, tell him this about this video, and tell him to play a game with it for a couple weeks. So anyway, you gave this message, and you said, now is the time, today, starting right now. It's got to be big. It's got to be bold. Plan from this moment something big. She's like, or you said, and we somehow talked about in some sessions that I had with my angels and stuff, me going to Europe and to Italy and different things. Anyway, you didn't dictate what was supposed to happen, but there was like, trip,
Yeah. Okay.
head out.
So what?
So
That was November of 2016, 15.
probably 15. Yeah, 15. And it took me a year and a half before I kicked it into gear to actually get going.
Okay, so that actually, I'm glad you brought in that little piece of information. The inspiration, and I'll share with everyone that Shaun and I had a relationship where he gave me permission to have angels, his guides speak with me for his benefit. That's actually not the way it continues to be now. I want people to know that it was almost just a stepping stone for you to then learn how to do that yourself, and you definitely are. But I want people to hear that, because that otherwise it sounds like we never want anyone to do that as a permanent tool, to have anyone else talking for our inner knowing. But we were doing stepping stones, and so now we don't do that anymore. But it was really important part of the process of you getting to do this trip in Europe. Wow, what you just said was so key, that it took a year and a half. Tell us about that year and a half. What in the world? Why wasn't it just as easy as, oh, I know that it's right to have a trip to Europe. Okay, I'm going to start planning it now. What was the barrier for you? Tell us who you were in that year and a half that made it so challenging.
At the time, money was an issue. I needed to go get a passport renewed. I started to wonder, okay, well, if I go over there, what should I do? So I really didn't have a good idea of what I'd do. I looked online. I thought, okay, maybe I'll go to school for a while over there. And I tried to find maybe some schools that teach sculpting in Italy, Florence. And I did some online research, and just nothing clicked. It was just, I don't know. Sometimes there's a scriptural term of stupor of thought. And I just, when I researched trying to go to school there, like, nothing.
And
So I was like, how should I do this?
right. So one of the barriers was, what would I even do while I was there? Would I be a student? Would I be a tourist? It wasn't clear, and nothing was feeling good. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's also what I'm doing while I'm asking the questions. I'm taking I'm taking note of what it looks like to dream big. Like there's the game right there. Is I know you in that year and a half, you had a quote, something like, if you remember the quote precisely, I'd love to hear something about the biggest regret would be what might have
The,
been.
the
Remember that?
saddest word of tongue or pen are these: it might have been.
Okay, so I have chills everywhere. That's so profound. What I know about you during that year and a half, and this can be just generalized for all people who want to live this brilliant, amazing, big life, is that you didn't even know what the dream could possibly be. It takes work to actually even be able to expand your ability to dream. And so sure, going to Europe sounds great, but like what would you do while you're there? That's part of the dream building process, and it took you a year and a half to get to that place. And then what happened? Tell us, keep talking us through what happened for you next, because
Um,
you didn't let go.
well, it was interesting that, like when I'm in a space, I get super focused on what I want to be done. So when your phone call came through, that was, I had just ripped out half my parents' front yard, their lawn, and put in flower beds and fruit trees. And I really bit off a lot of stuff, just put in a sprinkler system, planted all these fruit trees out back. Like I was gearing up for big stuff. I was starting to cultivate behind the fence line on to beautify. So there was a lot of stuff that part of your message, you said, listen, I know you've got a garden. I know you've got different things going. You're worried about, your garden, your parents, all that stuff will be taken care of. Don't worry about it. So that was an interesting, thing to, like, okay, I don't need to stress, but I would always, like, my to-do list or the first thing on my mind, like in my space, I need to go work on this and beautify this and keep going with this. And so on some level, there's a prioritization, and I'm seeing that now. Like I can just get focused on my whole life could just be a garden.
Mm.
But I've got to start to go, well, dang it. There are other things that I need to do. And if I keep putting them off, and so for me, a prioritization is hard, but I need to make priorities, even among good and amazing things, which
Mm.
part of the thing that I'm going to push soon to do that I've put off for years and years and years is to sculpt. And
Pause that for a second, because I want to get to that place of where
okay,
you're gonna do in the future, because I know that the reason why that's so significant as your moment now is because of your trip to Italy. So I want to get there in a moment. So so fast forwarding more, you you were then ready to take the plunge, and you went to Italy. Now, we're not going to talk about that trip. Oh, I'm sorry, not just Italy. You went all over Europe. How long of a trip?
well, I was there 90 days. I went to Spain first, landed in Madrid on the solstice, summer solstice. I think June, maybe it was the 20th. And
And pause for a second, because this
yeah,
we're not going to miss this moment. So, a year and a half of not knowing what you'd be doing while you're there. You didn't have any clue. I was part of that process with you when you had no idea where the money would come from. You were freaking out about how that would happen. And then all of a sudden we're now having this conversation of, yeah, then I got on the plane and I went to Madrid first. And you got back, like, so pause that for a second. Go back. You didn't have the money. You didn't have the money. It wasn't all just cut and dry. And you don't have to say much about this if you don't want to, but I I've been in that place so many times, Shaun. As we look at other people fulfilling their dreams, we look at a distance and we say, oh, they had this lovely adventure, probably worked out, they probably had all these sorts of savings. No, it you were relentless. You were relentless in following this. And and pursuing this and getting yourself there. And sometimes it does not look cut and dry at all. And are there a couple highlights you want to talk about before that